Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Welcome back to the Willis Podcast. How you guys doing, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, here I am back. Yeah, absolutely. But check it out. I got a unique episode here for all of us. Yeah, I wasn't gonna go on tonight, but I figured out. Yeah, there's a way to do a few things that you want to do and how you want to do it. But at the end of the day, you just got to make a decision to do it. You know, I ain't got nobody watching right now. Let me just get some things situated. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, yeah. I felt it was very necessary to do this episode tonight. Let me get my graphics right because they don't look right. I don't like the way it's looking. The graphics. I can't see my things I need to see. So I need to straighten it out. Okay. All right. Here we go. So tonight's episode, the pen was the weapon. Yeah, when you think about pen was the weapon. Black Americans, the most of what America could ever be in its truthful place, but due to the fact that we have so many people that have tried to really derail the Aboriginal American. How many people does it take to derail a person or to derail a people? How many lifetimes does it take to derail a people or to destroy a people? See, I know I'm late. I apologize. I was supposed to have this show. I was supposed to do a show earlier, but sometimes in life when you have the opportunity to heal, and sometimes in life when you have the opportunity to address a situation, it means a lot. It means that certain things can heal. People can heal. Nations can heal. You finally have the place to renew your energy, renew yourself. Because even if you're going through any specific situation, it's all about how we defined ourselves. Yeah. It's all about how we feel at the end of the day, because a lot of people don't feel good about themselves. They feel shitty about their decisions. They feel disconnected because of the wrong consequences have came to adjust them, not and vice versa. Sometimes people need to be adjusted and understood from a different place, because if they're not, you will continue on to a destructive path. But anyway, we're gonna get into the Willis podcast. You know what I'm saying? The pen was the weapon. How law, labels, and records rewrote a people. Check this out. Erased with ink, colonial powers, and the politics of identity. The politics of identity. Listen to me and understand what I'm saying. See, the pen was mightier than the sword because physical violence was seized territories by laws, treaties, census records, deeds, school, policies and racial classifications can make, man, the seizure appear permanent and legitimate. So even though people can do such egregious and terrible acts, they didn't have just that power. They had the power to really uh, do more and be more divisive and more egregious, because when you not just colonize a landmass, what you really do is you figure out ways to keep that people beneath you. That's a colonizer. Colonizer is not a. It has not. I don't think people really realize colonizer is not just a color. Africans were colonizers. Who do you think, man? Who do you think the European learned all of their strategies from? See, you have to understand that colonizer power often operates through two connected hands. The brutal hand removed, confined, punished, displaced people. Understand that. And for two, the administrative hand. You dig? The administrative hand that renames classified populations, rewrote ownership, and taught later generations that new arrangements had always existed. Now, think about that. The sword conquered the body, the pen attempted to conquer memory. See, it's the pen that conquered the memory of even people. Yeah, so you say, no, well, we just see the pen, right? It's always about the pen. The sword conquered the body, the pen attempted to conquer the memory. Again, I tell you this. First of all, I want y'all to subscribe to the Willis Podcast. I need you to understand what I'm trying to tell you is how we lost our way of even trying to attempt to think because of the pen. So when you'll tell someone or you'll tell your people, hey, we came from this, that, and the third, but then you go look at the Smithsonian and you look at all these different, school books that, let's take a look into Trump's circle right now, and Ghislaine Maxwell, her father. Okay, these people had intricate dealings with each other, even with writing school books and things of that nature. Like, so think about this. See the important factual clarifications. In 1924, in Indian Citizenship Act did not invent the term Native American. Well, let's just say this. They did not invent the term Native American or rename Siberians and Native Americans. The extent of the United States citizenship to American Indians born within the country had not already received citizenship through treaties, statuses, military services, or other means. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Native Americans, entered the board public usage primarily during the 1970s in its national archives of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. It is fair to criticize migration theories and radical classifications, okay, and the political use of identity, but the proposition of the government simply relabeled Siberians in 1924 is not supposed is not supported by the law itself, but presents that the disputed interpretation as an established fact. Because everybody knows that the European, or let's just say the British Russian company produced these people. Let's just be clear. So also remember, indigenous Americans was never one racial appearance. Native nations were amongst the vision of people of their own identities and historical civil citizenship rules and or traditions. So that means those people are of multitude of colors because of what was created here. But then they had to say that the Native American 1924 they had to have the indigenous. They had to have 1/16 of the indigenous American Indian because we were supposed to be extinct, not here no more. Like that was by status quo. It wasn't by actual. Those are just the truths. So the thing is, the government labels is never just a word. You know what I'm saying? The government changes what you are called, what happens to your rights, your lands, your inheritance, and the descendants. That's what the government tried to gain control of in every essence of everything that it tried to achieve. So the label of such as Indian, Negro, mulatto, colored, white, administered categories. These were administrative categories. They were not natural scientific discoveries. Officials decided they were boxes. Existed, and belonging inside of them were legal consequences that follow specifically. Yeah, legal consequences that actually follow these people, like literally. So when you think about these things, I have to give you actual facts because people need to understand these were timelines of modernization that had to do one thing: dispel what was here so that they can recreate something that they saw anew. But there was no anew when you could never get rid of the actual indigenous class of people. Now, check this out. In Virginia, 1924, the Racial Integrity Act attempted to divide people into rigid, no. They wanted to be right, but these are rigid categories. Registrar Walter Plecker used records and administrative power to classify many Virginia Indians as colored. The National Park Service described this as mass erasure of Virginia Indians' identity. The descendants later encountered difficulty providing the continuous documentary lineage required for federal recognition. They did that because these people were the actual darker copper colored melanated races of America. Now, mind you this, that is the pen functioning as a weapon. This pen can do a multitude of things. Change a birth certificate, change a marriage record, change racial categories. Dig this. And let future officials treat the altered document as unquestionable truth. Yeah, this is what these people had the power to do. But also, America acts as if these things didn't happen America and people, even people that exist within these specific families, would go out attacking other folk, knowing that these actual heinous acts actually existed. Very heinous acts. So when you're talking about, I'm going to deliberately change your birth certificate, change your marriage record, change your racial category, that's called a destiny swap. That's how they did it. So even the Dawes Act converted communal land into government paperwork. So in 1887, the Dawes Act authorized the federal government to divide communal, communally held by the tribal lands and additional allotments. People were placed onto government rolls, parcels were assigned, and land classification was surplus, were open to outside interest. Now, 1887, open to outside interest. Now, if I go and pick up these books right here, hold on, right here. All right. We're going to talk about the Atlas of the Indian Indians. We can talk about the Indian nations. And, wait a minute. Indian nations in North America. We're going to talk about Indian wars, though. Indian wars. So, when we talk about Indian wars, that's a whole nother kind of specification. Okay, so the Indian wars were basically pure wars. There were no wars in that when I tell you about Indian wars, those were Indian wars. But if we go to the affairs of West Africa, we're talking about wars, a WAR, wars that is in America, and affairs of West Africa, and we call Indian wars that existed in the Americas. And you see these Siberian phenotypes that are not American Indians. That's why they say the Indian Wars. But if you look below these, hold on. Let me give you one better. I owe you better than that. I'm gonna show you where. Man, I tell you, they put some shit in plain sight for your ass. I'm gonna show you my grandfather. Let me show you some yeah. Why they don't talk about him? Big Bear. Hold on, we'll give you some more. Let me show you. Man, I tell you. Here we go. We're gonna talk about this. Hold on. Let me show you. Now who that look like? So all right. So I can also show you a multitude of me. I've read a multitude out of National Geographic, even their descriptions of what the melanated copper-colored American is, and I've also read a lot of out of this book right here too, The Affairs of West Africa. So the thing is, the affairs of West Africa is pretty much man, it's about what they had already done to the peoples of Europe. They had already carved the people of Europe up. It was pretty easy. It was not hard to do because they had Europeans had already banked their whole logic on running to the Americas. So I run to the Americas. I become something that I never was, but I also am able to retreat and never succumb to my home country. I'm an American now, so any European that is here now, they've been here for 400 years too. So are the Americans? Yeah, at this point, they can't be nothing but Americans because if you talk to a European right now that's from Europe, they'll tell a white American that you're from America. You're no longer. So the white global ethnogenesis from white people from really Europe. They're from Europe, but they'll accept them as Americans. Now, this tells a lot about the times. An significant time, literally, if you think about it, you can call a person that has no no melanin. So all the peoples from there, this is a good trick bag. So there were no Europeans that would ever you could ever say a European or a pale complected person was from the Americas. It can't happen. Can't be so. Until uh, the 1400s. Until the 1400s. Now they'll turn this and flip this around. Is they're gonna say, but the only people that was able to discover this land were Siberians, but they're pale complected. So you mean to tell me there were no? Again, you see how they trick you? These are Siberian stock. Period. In every way. But I will tell you this. There were so many people from around the world that was so familiar with the likes of the Americas in a great grand way. From the brother of Mansa Musa, they were, they call, he was Abakari. He ain't go back to Africa. And you got Europeans. I think people give Europeans entirely too much credit because how how you thought you were so dominant that you kept shipping your people over here. You really think you just been all over get all these black, like, come on, man, like, stop with your fabrications of lies about you being so dominant. You barely held on. That's the truth. You never whooped our asses, the Seminoles in the Southeast. Like, you barely held on to anything you have ever had from the skin of your chinny chin chin. And that's where the three-legged piggies came about. The skin of your chinny chin chin. That's what it really was. You were never as dominant. You've never been dominant. As a matter of fact, the European being masculine is funny because it has no characteristics of dominance. Like, so these fabrications of King Arthur and all of this shit that you make up is all melanated stories that are global that we've done before you ever thought about existing. And those are the real truths. Like, you've never really done anything for real. Like if you think about now and how the European is being more enlightened against its own self. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful situation for the European to understand who his mom and his daddy is. And, I think it's a wonderful situation for them to understand that you are not the first on the planet. You were never who you ever said you thought you were. You were never those things. And I'm very obliged to see that some, Europeans are starting to understand that you do have a mother and a father. And you're starting to embrace the fact that you like the fact that they were melanated. And you're starting to understand that the more you learn about the world, the more you understand how dark it gets, the more you understand how spiritual it really gets, the more you understand how you have to literally um, flee from yourself, your kind, your people, if you really want to be a serious person. Because when you're dealing with some pale complected people, they are not very serious people. They're very broken people. They bought into concepts that were never supposed to have ever been real. They were all constructs that were created by dividers, sycophants, sick people, people that would never even understand the concept of real love. They never will understand the real concept of creation and appreciation and all of the characteristics that you would call weak are the characteristics that make you stronger than the ordinary man, having the capacity and the propensity to appreciate, recognize, love, find it, seek it out, and also have the ability and the agility to mature it. Mature your situation as a person, a being, somebody that can really recognize how to actually learn how to just be. That's a skill set. But some people think that when you understand the ability to build, love, appreciate, understand, and grow, sometimes they can take your attributes as a weakness. I would tell anybody, if you take strength, ability, agility, forethought as a weakness, you're the fool. Hey man, that's on you. But anyway, let's transform this whole equation. Let's do a little better. Okay, so anyway, that's what the dogs. But let's check this out. So citizenship can be granted without restoring sovereignty. Oh, check this out. Again, 1924 Act, remaining non-citizen American Indian born with the United States citizen. Oh shit. But citizenship did not automatically restore land, repair, treaty violations, or guarantee voting access in every state. That raises powerful questions, truth be told. Check this out. How can a government grant citizenship to people whose nations and ancestors existed before the government? This exposes the differences among indigenous identity, tribal citizenship, United States citizenship, and census racial category. Let's be clear. Those concepts overlap, but they are not interchangeable. Each tribal nation determines its own citizenship. Enrollment requires national archival information. So, schools were used to rewrite identity. What I told y'all about the Indian schools, those were schools to choose to rewrite identity. See, federal Indian boarding schools removed children from their families. They attempted to replace their languages, names, religions, clothing, community, and relationships. Understand that. See, the Department of Interior found that these institutions employed systematic identity alteration methods, including renaming children, cutting their hair, suppressing indigenous languages, and organizing children through militarized routines. That's the Department of Interior. You understand? This was born of subjugating the true indigenous copper-colored American Indian. They call us engines, you know. So when you think about an engine of a car, they know that indigenous people are the fruit, land, labor, and gratitude of the planet. So they just said, I will take all indigenous people and make them engines. I want an engine to run the world. So they said, we'll take their ideologies, their minds, their perspectives, their ingenuity. See, everything starts with an engine, ingenuity, engine, all those things that make everything function, go and move. That's an engine. Okay, let's be clear. So this is why they had to take children. They took power. They took, they took resources, minds, the ability to think, the ability to just be, the ability to renew, the ability to have the mind to think beyond circumstances in order to do one thing: contribute. Just contribute. All things are about contributions to the land. That's where the misconception comes in, because you want to contribute to the land, but okay, that land contributions is a land stake holding. Stakes and holdings. Okay. So paper record. I'm going to say this first. So the curriculum replaced the history. The official reporting calls the process education or assimilation. Education and assimilation, if you ask me. But see, paper records can preserve history, but also conceal violence. Let's take a gander at this. So a deed can hide disposition. A treaty can disguise coercion. A treaty can disguise coercion. Understand this. A census can hide community inside the wrong category. A school can record and call and rename a child. A history book can describe conquest as discovery. You understand what that makes? Let's go a little deeper. That does not mean that every document is false. It means that every document must be re-examined. You know what I'm saying? Alongside tribal records, citizenship rolls, family records, church, county documents, land, probate files, oral history, archaeology, DNA evidence, interpreted carefully. Also, a government record is evidence, but it's not automatically entirely the truth. You can never take a government record as entirely the truth, because how do you think they were able to retrieve and achieve so much? But also, do this one thing: do not replace one sweeping origin story with another. Get to the roots. See, I'm gonna tell you how to see that whole land bridge shit was revised, complicated, but archaeological genetic discoveries, but evidence would still support a deep astrological connection between many indigenous people of the Americas and the ancient populations from the northeastern Asia and the complex migrations and long development within the Americas. See, appearance alone, dark skin, copper complexion, hair texture, and historical use of color cannot be proven from a person's tribal nation and continental ancestry. Can't be proven. Simply because all melanated complected people were global. See, official classifications would somehow erase real indigenous identities, but every specific ancestry claim must be established through evidence rather than appearance alone. That has to be understood. See, the modern version, this is the thing. Everything is a modern version, but it's associated with the pen. The fucking pen, man. So, and it's to this day. What do you think AI is? It's the pen. So check it out. The same power operates today through algorithms that decide whose voice is visible, databases that determine eligibility, property records that control generational wealth, school books that define legitimate history, news language that frame victims and aggressors, court rulings that convert political judgment into precedent, and also corporate contracts that appropriate culture while excluding its creators. So why does it exclude its creators? So you got people that throw shit out here and won't be accountable for what they have said or don't want to be even known of. They just gonna throw some old horrific, awful shit out there and expect for somebody to say, "Hey, you know what? Pick it up." Well, damn. Let's keep going. I don't want to get into that, but I want to get more into that, but in a specific place. So, questions for I just want I want you to know a few things. So, the modern pen may be a keyboard, database, camera caption, algorithm, or legal code. See, that's the thing. That's the pen. Everybody can judge you by that damn pen. But do they really know the real you? And they'll tell you how much they do not have to, but yes, they do. See, that's what it's really coming back to. Everybody want to have the pen. Let's keep going. I just want you to answer. I just want you to understand a few things because we can keep going about this, but we have to be solutions based. So, who creates the racial categories used to describe your family? Who creates those things, those categories? My grandmama told me the category. The government can't pursue that. So, did your ancestors choose these classifications, or did a numerator choose them? And then, when family or history conflicts with the government record, what should both investigate? Why can't both be investigated? Who is in the government? Why can't we investigate who's in the government? And because they voted for him, and whoever said that the government was right in their interpretation in the first place. That's why it says we the people. But let's dig this. Who benefits when indigenous, black, or mixed communities are forced into rigid categories? Now, I've seen a lot of mulattoes in America. I mean, this is how you describe a lot. Even the Pope, his family. This is back in the 1930s and 40s with the Pope. This is the Pope now, his family. The mother said, I will move to Chicago because I could disguise myself up there as being white. And the Pope is the first colored person. Or does the Pope have Aboriginal DNA? What makes him speak so firmly about certain things in America that no other Pope has spoken? Papal bull. I can tell you why. The papal bull. And that book is right there. See? The Vatican. Let me show y'all some things here. See? The closet. In the closet of the Vatican. We're going to go through this book because it has everything to do with what happened with this book. It has everything to do with the Indian Wars. This book right here has everything to do with how your concept of the Bible is. This book has everything to do how you may be able to become supernatural. See, the Will Is podcast is about being a person when the will is yours. The will is really yours. See how much knowledge, energy, and creation I keep around me. You know, things that I know that will fortify and infuse me, elevate me simply because I choose to take those routes in life. Some people may not choose to be learned. They may choose to be comfortable. Some people may not choose to be great. They just want to be seen. I tell you what I choose. I choose to be me, Danny D, the orchestrator, the author. Yeah, the Will Is podcast. Yeah, the will is mine. The will is yours. The will is everyone's. As long as they can understand what their will is, it means something. It should mean something to you. It should mean something to how people really want to deal with themselves and how they want to really operate within themselves, but knowing how to enhance themselves. I'm all about enhancements, not, on no drug level, but mentally, you know, being, being a real catalyst, by development, by understanding, by appreciating your role on this planet. And that's development within yourself and for yourself and for others if they can catch up. But check it out. Let me tell you something, man. When you come from a goddamn place of being thorough, understood, and people that appreciate, love you, and put energy and effort into you, you can't do nothing but be appreciative. You know what I'm saying? That's the realness of people. So let me get back to what I got to get going on. I'm almost there, people. So let me explain something to you. They told us the pen was mightier than the sword, but they rarely explain why. They rarely explain why. They didn't do that to us. They didn't explain that shit. They rarely explain why. So, the sword can remove a person from the land, but the pen can change the deed. The sword can silence a witness, but the pen can write the official story. The sword can attack people from one generation in a census category, birth certificate, treaty, school books, confuse the descendants of the hundreds of years. But tonight, the Willis Podcast examines the colonial power used violence to take and paperwork to make the take look lawful. So, my closing argument is to help you understand that we're not saying that every record is fraudulent. The evidence does not matter from that perspective. We are saying that the opposition. We examine the evidence more deeply. Read the law. Study the census. Instructions. Search the deeds in the family records and the tribal histories. Listen to the elders, but test every conclusion. Responsibility is yours. Colonialism does not survive through violence alone. It survives through controlling the definitions. The definitions. It is the pen that helps erase people. The discipline, research, truth, documentation, and independent voices must become the pen that restores the record. So it is us, and it is only us. The copper, melanated complected being on the planet. Humanity lies in your hands. I love you. And that's the Willis Podcast tonight. We got more for you, but I can tell you this, and I love you for this. Check it out. You know this is my favorite part of the show. The wheel is yours. Be cool, be easy, and most likely be peaceful. Indeed. I love you guys in peace.